Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today we are diving into one of the most talked about coins in American history, the 1971 D Lincoln penny, the coin that has shocked collectors around the world with reports of some examples selling or being valued in the millions of dollars. The 1971 D Lincoln penny might look like an ordinary coin at first glance. After all, it was minted in huge numbers in Denver. Over 2.5 billion pieces were struck that year, but as every coin collector knows, rarity isn't always about how many were made. Sometimes it's about the mistakes, the errors, and the small details that slipped past the mint workers. Before we get into the crazy values, let's rewind to the beginning. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person instead of a symbolic image, designed by Victor David Brenner. The coin originally had wheat stalks on the back, known as the wheat penny. In 1959, the design changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Now fast forward to 1971. This was a time when the U.S. Mint was experimenting with different die sets and metal compositions. The penny was made primarily of copper with about 5% zinc and tin. What makes the 1971 D penny special is that during this time the Mint was transitioning between old and new die hubs, resulting in several varieties and striking errors. Some of these errors include double die obverse coins, off-center strikes, and weakly struck examples. The most famous among them is the 1971 double die obverse, where Lincoln's face and the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appear doubled under magnification, while the Philadelphia version of the double die is more well-known. The Denver Mint also produced a few error pieces that are incredibly rare. Now here's where things get interesting in the world of coin collecting. A small mint error can turn a common 1-cent piece into a fortune. Certain high-grade mint state examples of the 1971 D penny have been valued by collectors at thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars, but there are unconfirmed reports and collector claims suggesting that a rare error specimen could be worth as much as $8 million. You might wonder why anyone would pay that much for a penny. The answer lies in rarity and perfection. In coin collecting, value comes from three major things: condition, rarity, and demand. If a 1971 D Lincoln penny exists with an ultra-rare mint error such as a double-struck die alignment combined with pristine condition, graded MS-70 read by the professional coin grading service, it could command an astronomical price. Stories circulate online and through collector forums about private sales and offers reaching into the millions. These coins are often kept in private collections or passed down through families, making it difficult to confirm their true worth. But the legend continues to grow. The 1971 D penny also has an interesting connection to the economic history of the United States. During the early 70s, inflation was rising and the value of copper was increasing so much that by the mid-1970s the cost of the metal inside a penny was approaching its face value. That made older all-copper pennies more desirable among collectors and investors. So how can you tell if your 1971 D penny is worth a fortune? First, look for the mint mark. The small d under the date stands for Denver. Then examine the lettering under good lighting or with a magnifying glass. If you see clear doubling on Liberty or In God We Trust, you might have a double die error. Next, check the condition. If it still has its original reddish copper shine and no scratches, it could be valuable. It's always a good idea to have your coin professionally graded by companies like PCGS or NGC. Their certification can verify the coin's authenticity and dramatically increase its market value. As of the most recent reports, the top auction prices for rare Lincoln pennies have exceeded $2 million for special varieties like the 1943 copper penny and the 1955 double die. Now collectors believe that a perfect 1971 D Lincoln penny with unique die characteristics could break that record, with some claiming it's already valued around $8 million in private sales. We're diving deep into one of the most talked about coins in American numismatic history, the 1977 Lincoln penny. Believe it or not, this simple 1-cent coin, usually made of copper and zinc, has shocked collectors across the world, with reports of rare versions being valued at up to $7 million. Yes, you heard that right. $7 million. So how can a 1-cent coin be worth that much money? Let's rewind the clock and uncover the fascinating story behind this legendary penny. Our story begins in 1909 when the Lincoln cent was first introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It replaced the Indian head penny and became the first U.S. coin to feature the portrait of an actual historical figure. The design by Victor David Brenner featured Lincoln's profile on the front, or obverse, and two wheat ears on the back, which gave rise to the nickname Wheat Penny. That Design lasted until 1958. Then in 1959, to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, the U.S. Mint changed the reverse to feature the Lincoln Memorial. This new design was created by Frank Gasparo and remained in use all the way until 2008. That means the 1977 penny is part of the Lincoln Memorial series. One of the most familiar designs in American coinage. Now here's where things get really interesting. The 1977 penny was struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The regular business strike coins from Philadelphia have no mint mark, while the Denver coins have a small D under the date, and the San Francisco coins with the S mint mark were mostly proofs, struck for collectors with extra care and mirror-like surfaces. Most of these pennies are made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing about 3.11 grams. So far, nothing unusual, right? But within these millions of coins, a handful of strange errors and varieties have turned ordinary copper cents into treasures worth staggering amounts of money. Collectors have found examples of 1977 pennies with double dies, off-center strikes, and rare planchet errors where the penny was struck on the wrong type of metal. Point one of the most talked about is the 1977 penny struck on a silver dime planchet. That means the coin was accidentally made using a blank intended for a 10-cent piece, giving it a silvery appearance and lighter weight. Such errors are extremely rare and can fetch thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars depending on condition. But why are some sources claiming that one could be worth up to $7 million? That number comes from rumors and sensational reports circulating among collectors and coin enthusiasts online. In truth, no verified 1977 penny has sold for that exact amount at auction, at least not yet. However, certain unique error coins have reached unbelievable values in private sales and collector circles, especially those authenticated by major grading services like PCGS or NGC in mint state condition. To give some perspective, a 1977 penny in regular circulated condition is worth about 1 cent, maybe 2 or 3 cents if you sell it for its copper content value when metal prices rise. An uncirculated example, bright and shiny straight from a mint set, might bring anywhere from $1 to $10 depending on the grade, but if you find one with a major mint error, a dramatic double die, or a rare off metal strike, you could be sitting on a coin worth anywhere from a few hundred to several $1,000s, and in theory, a one-of-a-kind example with a major minting anomaly could indeed be valued in the millions if a high-end collector decides to pay a record-breaking price. What makes the 1977 Lincoln penny so fascinating is that it sits right before a major change in U.S. coin composition. In 1982, the mint switched from mostly copper pennies to ones made primarily of zinc with a thin copper coating. That means the 1977 penny belongs to the last full decade of solid copper Lincoln cents, and copper itself has historical and intrinsic appeal to collectors. Now let's talk about what to look for. If you want to check your own pennies, start by using a simple magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Look closely at the date, mint mark, and lettering. A true double die will show clear doubling of letters, especially in the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." Off-center strikes will show part of the design missing and an extra thick border on one side. If your penny looks silver or lighter than usual, it might have been struck on a dime planchet or another type of metal. Weigh it. A normal 1977 penny should be around 3.11 grams. Anything significantly different might be worth sending to a professional grading service for evaluation. Collectors also pay attention to the condition of the coin. A coin graded mint state 67 or higher can command incredible premiums. Coins stored carefully in holders or rolls since 1977 often maintain their original luster and sharp details, which can dramatically boost value. But remember, grading and authentication are crucial. There are countless fake listings and exaggerated claims online about the so-called $7 million penny. Always check reputable sources like the Professional Coin Grading Service, the Numismatic Guarantee Company, or auction houses such as Heritage Auctions and Stacks Bowers. These organizations provide verified sale records, photographs, and grading reports to ensure transparency. Even if you don't find a $7 million treasure in your pocket change, hunting for valuable pennies can still be an exciting and rewarding hobby. Every coin tells a story, and the 1977 Lincoln penny is no exception. It connects us to American history, the artistry of coin design, and the thrill of discovering hidden value in everyday objects. So the next time you find an old Penny at the bottom of your drawer, don't just toss it aside, take a closer look, because you never know what secrets that little piece of copper might hold, and who knows, maybe one day someone will uncover the elusive $7 million Lincoln penny and rewrite coin collecting history for Eve. We're talking about one of the most talked about coins in recent years, the 1978 Lincoln penny. Believe it or not, some people claim this simple 1-cent coin could be worth up to $6 million. Sounds unbelievable, right? But let's dig deep into the truth, the history, and the real value behind this famous coin. The history of the 1978 Lincoln penny. The year was 1978. The United States was still recovering from the economic shocks of the 1970s, gas prices were climbing, and inflation was rising. Yet millions of people used pennies every single day without thinking much about them. The Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for nearly 70 years at that time. It was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it became the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait. By 1978, the design had changed only slightly. The obverse still showed Lincoln's bust facing right, while the reverse displayed the classic Lincoln Memorial, a design by Frank Gasparo that was introduced in 1959. The small d mint mark below the date meant it was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. That year, the U.S. Mint produced over 4.28 billion pennies at Denver alone. So it's safe to say that the 1978 penny is not rare by mintage numbers. But what makes a few of these coins stand out could be minting errors, condition, and collector interest, composition and design details. Let's talk metal content for a moment. The 1978 Lincoln penny is made from 95% copper and 5% zinc. Each coin weighs about 3.11 grams. These were among the last few years before the U.S. Mint switched to a copper-plated zinc composition in 1982 to save on production costs. Because of that, all pre-1982 pennies are worth more than face value just for their copper content, usually around 2 to 3 cents each depending on copper prices. Now, while that's not life-changing money, collectors know that condition, rarity, and mint errors can change everything. Error varieties and rare finds. Most of the excitement around the 1978 penny comes from error coins, the kinds of mistakes that happen during minting. Some of the known varieties include off-center strikes, double die errors, die cracks, and repunched mint marks. For example, a 1978 penny with a noticeable double die obverse, where the lettering or date appears doubled, could sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars if it's in uncirculated condition. An off-center strike that leaves part of the design missing but still shows the date and mint mark can also bring big money at auction. Professional grading services like PCGS or NGC have authenticated some extremely high-grade 1978 pennies that fetched impressive sums. A coin graded MS67 red can sell for several $100s because it's nearly perfect with its original luster. The $6 million claim. Now let's talk about the headline that has spread across the internet, the claim that a 1978 Lincoln penny sold for $6 million. Here's the truth. There has never been an officially verified auction or sale for that amount. Most of these stories come from viral social media posts, clickbait headlines, and online rumors. However, that doesn't mean all 1978 pennies are worthless. There are always extremely rare error coins that could reach high values, especially if they have unique characteristics or were struck on the wrong planchet. For example, if a penny was accidentally struck on a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank. In such cases, authenticated examples have sold for tens of thousands of dollars. But not millions. So, while the idea of a $6 million penny makes for a great headline, it's not confirmed by any numismatic authority or auction house. Realistic current market value for most 1978 Lincoln pennies. Here's what you can expect. In circulated condition, they're worth between 1 cent and about 5 cents, mostly for the copper value. In uncirculated condition, bright, shiny, and free from wear, the value can range from 50 cents up to around $5. A coin graded MS65 red might sell for around $10 to $20. The record for the highest graded 1978 penny, an MS67 red, reportedly sold for around $500 to $700. So yes, that's nowhere near $6 million, but still an impressive return for a coin that cost only 1 cent. How to check your 1978 penny. If you happen to have a 1978 penny, here's what to look for. Check the condition. The less wear, the better. Look closely at the date and lettering for doubling or repunched mint marks. Inspect the edges for off-center strikes or broad strikes. Weigh the coin. A major deviation from 3.11 grams could mean it was struck on the wrong planchet. Get it graded. If you believe it might be rare, send it to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication. Collector interest and long-term potential. Even though it's common, the 1978 Lincoln penny still holds historical value. It represents the end of an era, the last few years of full copper pennies, and a time when American coinage still carried that old solid feel. Collectors often build full Lincoln cent collections from 1909 to 1982, and high-grade examples from the 1970s can be surprisingly hard to find because so many were used in everyday circulation. That's why finding a perfect mint state example can be a fun challenge for new collectors. Over time, as more coins get damaged, melted, or lost, pristine examples will naturally become more desirable. Closing message. So, is the 1978 Lincoln penny really worth $6 million? Probably not. But is it a fascinating piece of American history that could still be worth much more than face value? Absolutely. Coins like this remind us that even the smallest piece of change can hold stories, craftsmanship, and a little bit of mystery. We're diving deep into the world of the 1980 Lincoln penny, a coin that most people overlook but collectors around the world have been buzzing about. You might want to grab your change jar, because by the end of this video, you might just find out that one of your old pennies could be worth thousands, or even millions. Let's start from the beginning. The 1980 Lincoln penny belongs to the Lincoln Memorial Cent series, which ran from 1959 to 2008. It features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and on the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. Now, 1980 was an interesting year for U.S. coins. The mint produced billions of pennies, over 7.4 billion from the Philadelphia Mint, around 5 billion from Denver, and roughly 1.7 billion from San Francisco, though the San Francisco ones were mostly proof coins made for collectors. At first glance, every 1980 penny looks pretty ordinary. It's made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing 3.11 grams. This was just 2 years before the U.S. Mint changed the composition in 1982 to mostly zinc with a thin copper coating. So yes, if you have a 1980 penny, it's a solid copper coin, not the lighter zinc version we see today. But here's where things start to get exciting. Because of its copper content, even a regular circulated 1980 penny is worth more than 1 cent in metal value, around 3 cents if you melt it down, though melting U.S. coins is illegal. Still, that gives us a clue about how valuable these coins can become when collectors enter the scene. Let's talk about what makes a 1980 Lincoln penny truly valuable. First, mint errors. Some of the most expensive pennies ever sold are error coins. That means coins that were struck incorrectly at the mint. These errors can include things like double dies, off-center strikes, brockage, or even pennies struck on the wrong metal planchet. There are reports of 1980 Lincoln cents showing double die obverse errors, where parts of the date or lettering, especially Liberty or In God We Trust, appear doubled. If you have one of these, it could be worth hundreds or even thousands depending on condition and visibility of the doubling. Then there are off-center strikes. Imagine a penny where part of Lincoln's head or the date is missing because the coin was not aligned correctly when struck. A major off-center 1980 penny can sell anywhere from $50 to $500, and some rare ones can go for even more. But wait, what about the stories you've heard about 1980 pennies worth over $1 million? Let's talk about that. There have been viral claims online about rare 1980 pennies selling for over $5 million, and while that might sound like an exaggeration, it's rooted in the excitement around unique minting errors. A one-of-a-kind coin can reach astronomical prices if authenticated and verified as unique. For example, a 1943 copper penny sold for over $1 million, and collectors have speculated that some transitional 1980 varieties could one day reach similar fame. So, is your 1980 penny worth $5 million? Probably not, unless it's a 1 in a billion mint error. but that doesn't mean it's worthless. Let's break down the current market values as of today. A normal 1980 penny from Philadelphia or Denver in circulated condition is worth around 2 to 3 cents because of its copper. An uncirculated 1980 penny, that's one that looks brand new, no scratches or wear, can be worth up to 50 cents or more depending on its shine and grade. A proof 1980s penny made at the San Francisco Mint can bring $2 to $10 for a normal one, and much more if it's a cameo or deep cameo example. But if you've got an error coin, a double die, off-center, or wrong planchet strike, that's where the value skyrockets. Collectors have paid hundreds to thousands for these, and certain high-grade examples have been known to sell for tens of thousands at auction. So why do some people say the 1980 penny is worth $5 million? It's part myth, part mystery, and part market hype. Coin collecting often stirs the imagination. Every new discovery, every rare variety, fuels excitement and speculation. If someone were to find a 1980 penny struck on a rare metal or with a unique minting flaw never seen before, the value could indeed reach the millions. Until then, the 1980 penny remains a beautiful piece of American coinage history, one that marks the end of the all-copper era and the start of a new chapter for the US cent. So next time you pick up a penny, take a closer look. You might just be holding a piece of treasure history. Now, before we wrap up, here's a quick collector tip: always check your coins under good lighting or a magnifying glass. Look closely at the date, the letters, and the edges, and if something looks off, don't clean it, ever. Cleaning can destroy value instantly. Instead, store it safely and consider getting it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. We are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and surprising stories in American coin history. We are talking about the 1982 Lincoln penny, a small copper coin that most people overlook every single day, but that could secretly be worth a life-changing amount of money. Yes, you heard that right. Some versions of the 1982 Lincoln cent have sold for thousands, and the rarest variety could be worth up to $4 million in today's market. So make sure you watch until the end, because I will explain exactly what to look for, how to identify the rare versions, and how this humble 1-cent coin became such a legendary collectible. Let's start with the story. The year 1982 was a turning point for the United States Mint and for the penny itself. Before 1982, all Lincoln cents were made primarily of copper, about 95% copper and 5% zinc. But copper prices were rising quickly in the early 1980s. It actually became more expensive to make a penny than the coin was worth. So in 1982, the mint decided to change the composition of the coin from mostly copper to a cheaper zinc core with a thin copper coating. This decision created a major transition year in coinage history. Because of this mid-year change, there are two different metal types of 1982 Lincoln cents. The early coins from that year are the traditional heavy copper coins, weighing about 3.11 grams. The later ones are the lighter zinc coins, weighing about 2.5 grams, but that is not all. In 1982, the mint also made several different design varieties, including small date and large date versions, and they were struck in both Philadelphia and Denver. So when you put all those combinations together, there are actually 7 different types of 1982 pennies, and one of them, the rarest one, is worth a fortune. Let's go through the varieties so you can understand which ones are common and which ones to look for. The main differences are the date size and the metal composition. Collectors separate them into small date and large date styles, and you can tell the difference by looking at the numbers in the date. On a small date 1982 penny, the numbers look thinner and more delicate, and the top of the number 8 aligns with the top of the number 1. On a large date, the 8 appears taller and the numbers look thicker and bolder. Now here is the exciting part. There are 1982 pennies made of copper with a small date, copper with a large date, zinc with a small date, and zinc with a large date, and these were produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The Denver mint coins have a small letter D under the date. So, in total, there are several different combinations, but the one that stands out as ultra rare is the 1982 D small date copper penny. That particular version was not supposed to exist, according to the mint. All small-date Denver coins should have been made from zinc, not copper, but somehow, a few copper planchets, or blank coins, were accidentally mixed in and struck with the small-date Denver dies, this tiny mistake created one of the rarest and most valuable modern coins in American history. Only a few authentic examples have ever been confirmed, and one of them was sold for an incredible amount of money, close to $4 million. Yes. A penny that you might find in your change or coin jar could literally be worth millions if it turns out to be the right one. So how can you tell if you have this rare treasure? Here's what you need to do. First, check the date and look for the letter D below the year 1982. Make sure it is the small date version. Then you need to weigh the coin. A copper penny weighs around 3.11 grams, while a zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams. If your 1982 D small date penny weighs over 3 grams, congratulations, you might be holding a multi-million-dollar coin. Always use a precise digital scale to measure it, because even a small difference in weight can reveal the metal composition. If you think you have one of these coins, don't clean it or polish it, that could actually destroy its collector value. Instead, take it to a professional coin dealer or send it to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication. If it turns out to be genuine, it could change your life forever, even if you don't have the ultra-rare version. Many of the 1982 pennies can still be worth more than face value, especially in high-grade condition. For example, a 1982 small date copper penny from Philadelphia can sell for a few dollars up to a few $100s if it's in mint state condition. Error coins from that year, such as double dies or off-center strikes, can also be quite valuable to collectors. The 1982 transition year created confusion and opportunity for collectors. For decades, people didn't pay attention to the details, but now, with the popularity of coin collecting on YouTube and social media, more and more people are searching their loose change. Stories of people finding rare coins in pocket change or coin rolls continue to inspire treasure hunters everywhere. So why is the 1982 D small date copper penny worth so much money? It all comes down to rarity, demand, and mystery. Only a few examples are known to exist, and every collector dreams of owning one. Because the coin was technically not supposed to be produced, it's considered an error that slipped past the mint's quality control, making it a once-in-a-lifetime find. When one appeared in the collector market, intense bidding wars pushed the price into the millions, solidifying its place in numismatic history. Now let's talk about the current market. Coin prices change based on metal values, collector demand, and rarity. As of this year, the regular 1982 copper pennies are worth about 3 cents each for their metal content alone, while the zinc versions are only worth face value. High-grade mint state examples can range from $20 up to a few $100s, depending on their condition, but that legendary 1982 D small date copper penny remains at the top of every collector's dream list, estimated by some experts at around $4 million if a perfect example were to surface today. So take a few minutes to check your old change jars, coin rolls, or penny collections. You never know what you might find. It's easy to overlook something small, but history shows that sometimes, the tiniest coins can carry the biggest surprises. The story of the 1982 penny reminds us that value isn't always about size or appearance. It's about rarity, story, and the people who care enough to look closer. We're diving into one of the most fascinating and surprising stories in the world of coin collecting, a small piece of copper that most people overlook every single day. The 1995 Lincoln penny, a coin that has made headlines for being worth up to $3 million in the collector's market. That's right. A single penny, the kind you might find under your car seat or stuck between couch cushions, could actually be worth a life-changing amount of money. So if you've got any pennies from 1995 lying around, you're going to want to pay close attention. Let's start with a little history. The Lincoln cent has been one of the most recognizable coins in American history. It was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the penny has featured Lincoln's portrait on the obverse ever since. Over the decades, the coin has undergone a few design changes, but one thing has stayed constant: it remains one of the most circulated coins in the United States. Fast forward to 1995, the United States Mint was striking billions of Lincoln cents, mostly made of copper-plated zinc. They were produced at two main mints, Philadelphia and Denver, and like most pennies from the 1990s, they weren't considered rare or collectible at the time. But something unusual happened that year. During the minting process at the Philadelphia Mint, a small number of coins were struck with a slight misalignment in the die. This created what is known as a double die. Error, and that error is what turned a 1-cent coin into a treasure worth thousands or even millions of dollars. If you look closely at the 1995 double-die penny, you'll notice the doubling most clearly in the words liberty and in God we trust. The letters appear slightly shadowed or doubled, almost as if the design was struck twice. Collectors immediately took notice of this error, and it quickly became one of the most sought-after coins of the modern era. Now let's talk about value. Ordinary 1995 pennies that don't have any error are still only worth face value 1 cent. Even in uncirculated condition, they might sell for a few dollars at most. However, the 1995 double-die penny from the Philadelphia Mint can bring serious money. Coins in mint state condition, graded by professional grading companies such as PCGS or NGC, have sold for anywhere between several hundred and several $1,000s. But here's where it gets wild. A few extremely rare examples. Coins that are perfectly preserved, nearly flawless, and verified with top grades have fetched prices reaching into the millions. One reported private sale valued a pristine specimen at around $3 million. That's $3 million for a single penny. So what makes a coin like that so valuable? There are several factors that determine a coin's worth. First is rarity. How many examples exist? Second is condition. A coin graded MS68 or MS69 means it's virtually perfect. Third is demand. Collectors around the world are always chasing the best. Examples of famous errors. When these three factors combine, the value skyrockets. The 1995 double-die penny became legendary because it represented a new era of modern minting. Errors before then, most dramatic double dies were from older years, like the famous 1955 penny, but the 1995 issue proved that even modern coins could contain valuable mistakes. It sparked renewed interest in pocket change hunting and inspired thousands of people to start looking through their coins. Now you might be wondering how to check if you have one of these valuable pennies. It's simple. Take a magnifying glass and examine the lettering on the obverse side. Focus on the word liberty and the phrase in God we trust. If the letters look thicker, doubled, or slightly shadowed, you might just have a 1995 double-die penny. If you find one, don't clean it or polish it. Cleaning a coin can actually destroy its value. Instead, place it carefully in a protective holder or a soft cloth and consider sending it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication. Even if your coin isn't the million-dollar variety, many collectors are still willing to pay impressive prices. A verified example in top condition can easily bring in hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Not bad for something that started out worth just 1 cent. Now here's a fascinating bit of trivia. In 1995, the US Mint actually acknowledged the double-die variety. They didn't recall the coins, they simply corrected the die and continued production, meaning those few error coins that slipped out became accidental treasures forever preserved in numismatic history. Coin experts believe only a small fraction of the total 1995 pennies show this doubling. That scarcity, combined with strong demand, keeps the prices high, and as time passes, perfect uncirculated examples become even rarer, which is why collectors are willing to pay astronomical amounts for them today. So next time you get change from a store, take a moment to look through your pennies. You never know, you might be holding a fortune in your hand. Before we wrap up, let's summarize. The 1995 Lincoln penny may look ordinary, but certain examples, especially the double die from the Philadelphia Mint, can be worth anywhere from a few $100s all the way up to $3 million in rare cases. Its value depends on rarity, condition, and collector demand. It's one of the most famous modern US coins and a perfect reminder that hidden treasures can appear in the most unexpected places. So go ahead, check your pockets, your coin jars, and your old piggy banks, because that little copper coin from 1995 might just change your life. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern coin discoveries of our time, the 2018 Lincoln penny, a coin that most people overlook every single day could actually be worth a life-changing amount of money. In fact, one rare specimen reportedly sold for over $2 million, and today we are going to uncover why. Make sure you stick around until the end, because we will talk about the exact details that can make your penny worth a fortune. History of the Lincoln penny. The Lincoln cent has been one of the most iconic coins in American history. First introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it replaced the Indian head cent. Since then it has seen multiple design changes, metal compositions, and mint marks. The original coin featured the wheat reverse from 1909 to 1958, and then came the Lincoln Memorial reverse, which lasted from 1959 to 2008. Then in 2010 the US Mint introduced the shield reverse design, which continues to this day, including The 2018 issue about the 2018 Lincoln Penny. The 2018 Lincoln Penny was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia coins have no mint mark. Denver coins carry a small d mint mark, and San Francisco coins have an S mint mark, which are mostly proof coins made for collectors. Most 2018 pennies are made from copper-plated zinc weighing about 2.5 grams. The outer layer is pure copper, but the core is zinc, making them look shiny when new but prone to tarnish. Over time, billions of 2018 pennies were produced, which means most of them are only worth face value, but certain rare errors and mint varieties can turn an ordinary cent into a jackpot. Why some 2018 pennies are worth so much now? You might be wondering how a modern penny could possibly be worth millions. The answer lies in extremely rare minting errors. These are coins that left the mint with unique and unintended features caused by mistakes during the striking process. Some 2018 Lincoln cents were discovered with dramatic die errors, off-center strikes, double dies, and other unusual mint flaws. A few of these were confirmed by professional coin grading services like PCGS and NGC. The most valuable known example is a 2018 penny struck on the wrong planchet. This means instead of being struck on the normal copper-plated zinc blank, it was struck on a blank meant for another denomination, such as a dime or foreign coin. This kind of error is incredibly rare. One such 2018 penny error, graded by a top tier certification service, was reportedly purchased by a private collector for an astounding $2 million, making it one of the most valuable modern pennies ever known. How to identify a valuable 2018 penny? If you have a 2018 Lincoln penny, here are the steps you should take to check if it might be special. First, examine the surface under a magnifying glass. Look for doubling in the letters of Liberty or the date. If you see a shadow-like doubling effect, you might have a double die. Second, check for off-center strikes, meaning part of the design is missing or shifted. These are easier to spot and can raise the coin value from a few dollars to hundreds. Third, weigh your coin. A normal penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. If your coin weighs significantly more or less, it could have been struck on the wrong metal planchet. Finally, check for unusual coloration or texture, because sometimes experimental metals or plating errors were used for test strikes which never should have reached circulation. If you believe you have an error coin, send it to a professional grading company like PCGS, NGC, or Anax for verification and encapsulation. Recent market activity. Since 2018, there has been growing interest in modern Lincoln cents among collectors. Prices for high-grade coins, especially those graded MS-68 or MS-69, have risen steadily. A regular 2018 penny in circulation is worth only 1 cent, but a perfect condition 2018 Lincoln Shield Center graded Mississippi 69 read by PCGS can bring $50 to $100 at auction. A proof version from the San Francisco Mint can sell for up to $200 in perfect PR 70 condition. However, the rare error versions, such as the off-metal strikes, double dies, and off-center errors, can reach anywhere from a few $1,000s all the way up to that record-setting $2 million sale. Tips for coin collectors: if you enjoy coin hunting, check your pocket change carefully. Pay attention to the date, mint mark, and any unusual markings. Use good lighting and a jeweler's loupe to inspect closely. Store your finds in coin flips or holders to avoid scratches and keep them away from humidity. Joining online coin communities can also help you learn more and share discoveries. Many people have found valuable coins simply by staying curious and looking closely at what others miss every day. Conclusion: the story of the 2018 Lincoln penny reminds us that treasure can still be found in the most ordinary places. Even a small copper-colored coin can be worth a small fortune if it has the right features. Whether you are a serious collector or just someone checking your change, it pays to take a second look. So before you spend your next penny, make sure it is not one of the $1 million ones sitting right in your wallet. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe for more rare coin stories, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. See you in the next video, and happy coin hunting.